Welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast, episode number 51. Today our guest is Claret Uribe from Mercado, which is kind of a Ratio clone in Mexico or Latin America, which obviously Claret will deny in the podcast. And we will talk about the Mexican e-commerce market, the role of Amazon in Mexico, the status of the digitalization of several categories, why cash is still the number one payment option in Mexico, and why this is a big driver for the fintech industry, and obviously the chances of an Amazon in a world where Mercado Libre is kind of dominating all over in Latin America. How can a business like Mercado can make a difference by buying or partnering with Amazon brands? That's what we're going to discuss in the podcast. It is really cool to get such a knowledge firsthand from Claret. I know her now for, I think, 9 years or so, or even like 10 years. And it's fantastic to see that even now in Mexico, e-commerce is like the big booming industry with a lot of flourishing new businesses. Have fun with the podcast. So, Claret, welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast. Today we have a special episode about e-commerce in Mexico, especially marketplace e-commerce in Mexico. We met first time 9 years ago in an entrepreneurs event in Mexico City. Since then, I'm following your career, and a couple of weeks ago, I've learned that you received, as part of the founding team of Mercado, $100 million plus financing round for kind of a Ratio clone. We're going to talk about this in a couple of minutes. And then I said, okay, we definitely need to share Claret's story in the podcast. So welcome to this episode. Maybe can you introduce yourself a little bit about your background and career in the last years, and then we deep dive into Mexican e-commerce.
Yes, of course, Alex. Thanks for having me. Very happy to join you and your audience, which I know it's big in Europe. My name is Claret Uribe. I am Mexican. As you said, we met 9 years ago at a very interesting event that pivoted my entrepreneur career. After this event, I got super inspired and I co-founded an e-commerce for baby products that was called bebe2go.com. Unfortunately, we had to close like 3 years ago. The market wasn't ready in Mexico when we started, but that helped us out a lot to understand the challenges for e-commerce in Mexico. As an entrepreneur, I did pretty much everything. Every entrepreneur that's listening to this podcast knows what it means to bootstrap and doing each and every role in your company. And then after that, I joined Facebook for 3 years, Facebook Mexico office on the commercial part of the business. I used to manage the retails, e-commerces, disruptors, and fintech. It was a great journey. I learned a lot on Facebook and being on the other side, not as an entrepreneur, but managing their accounts, and also for the large retailers and e-commerces. And it was a very interesting year to do it because 2020 came and everyone in Mexico wanted to be omnichannel or have an omnichannel strategy. And this year I joined Mercado as part of the founding team. Mercado was born 7 months ago, maybe. Our founders, Sujay Tel and Felipe Delgado, they saw the opportunity that the COVID crisis was bringing to Latin America and the growth, triple-digit growth of e-commerce. It was the region that it grew the most. And they invited me to join this project. And I was more than happy to come back to e-commerce and build this amazing company. We're already 55 members. It started 6 months ago, and we're working all over Latin America.
Okay,
so that's me.
Let's start with the Mexican market, maybe. So you said that for Bebe2go 5 years ago, it was too early. So what is the status?
It was actually 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
What was the status back then about e-commerce, and what is it today? What kind of channels you use for shopping? How big is the online share? I guess brick and mortar is still the main channel in Mexico, but please shed some light or give us some statistics.
It's very different. 9 years ago, the market was tiny, and we tried to pioneer. My co-founder and I, we both went to school in the US. We did our master's degree there, and we were used to buy online everything: groceries, clothes, books on Amazon, for like to go to our courses. My co-founder, he had a baby, and he realized that it was a very important change on the consumer behavior, and we thought we could do it here in Mexico, but the challenges were big. Like, there were no payment processing companies. Some of them were being founded as we founded our own business. So that was the main challenge. And then also our suppliers, the baby product suppliers in Mexico, were not ready for e-commerce. They didn't even have digital photos or websites. So we needed to convince, we weren't selling. We were kind of like, we were trying to convince people to sell on our website. So it was very complicated. It was not the case only for us. There were a variety of D2C sites that were born back in the day, like 9 years ago. And that was, we had like the pet site, Petsy, which also Olivier, he's a co-founder also at Merama. He founded this Petsy site. And then there was another side of like makeup. We had one on clothing, shoes. Rocket Internet came to Mexico with Linio and Dafiti, and they try to get some of the market, but it was complicated. But in the end, all of this e-commerce wave that started back in, it was 2012, helped build the generation of young professionals that learned about growth, digital marketing, logistics, D2C sites, etc. And what happened was that Amazon came to Mexico, I think in 2015. I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. I'll check that out in a bit. But when Amazon came to Mexico, it changed the game for everyone, because suppliers needed to catch up with being on Amazon. And Mercado Libre, which is the largest online sales platform in Latin America. And for those of you who don't know, it's stock. It's on the New York Stock Exchange. Like, it's a very, very big company. They had to like pair up with the game of Amazon and start delivering like one day, such as Amazon Prime. So that made the market stronger, because we had two very big players on it. Also, some of the big retailers that were selling very little on e-commerce, maybe 1 or 2% of their entire sales, started seeing there was an opportunity there. So Walmart launched its site. Coppel, which is a very large retailer, launched its site. Liverpool also did. Liverpool is like an American Macy's. I'm not sure what could be the similar retailer in maybe like in France, kind of like Bon Marché.
Yeah,
sure, Germany.
on Spain, like Corte Inglés. Most of them are dying. So most of them are dying.
Yeah, here in Mexico, they're not dying quite yet. It's still a very important part of their business, the brick and mortar retail stores. But so this is how the market evolved. And what happened? A lot of entrepreneurs realized that there were niche markets inside of Amazon and Mercado Libre, in which they could sell a variety of different products depending on market tendencies or trends. Sorry, not tendencies, trends, and how they could leverage this to start selling on Amazon or Mercado Libre in Mexico, since the market is huge. We're 130 Mexicans. We're part of the 20 most with the countries with the GDP, largest GDP in the world. So it's a very, very big market. And the thing that is very complex in Mexico is that only 30% of the population owns a credit card. It's very hard to get credit in Mexico. And that also brought a trend that maybe you can talk to someone after on fintech. We're getting very strong on fintech because we need to give financial power to people. But that's
so you're saying people without a credit card couldn't buy online?
That was the thing. And so most of the sites adapted itself for people not only to be able to purchase with a credit card. In Mexico, even the most important and fancy airline or the largest retailer or even Mercado Libre lets you pay at a convenience store. So you place your order at the marketplace or the direct to consumer side or whatever retail store, and you're able to pay at Oxxo, which is the largest convenient chain of convenience stores in Mexico.
But how do you pay? How do you pay then on Oxxo with cash?
With cash. It's very interesting. So you place your order and you pick your paying method. When you pay with a credit card, well, you pay online, of course, or if you want to pay with PayPal or I don't know, like credit that you have on the store, and then you pay. You get your confirmation number and you get your product at home. But there's a way in which you can select paying cash at a variety of convenience stores or even at the bank. You can actually go and pay through your banking online app, because you might have a debit card or a checking account, but you might not have a credit card to pay online, and not all debit cards are processed in Mexico for online shopping. So you go and you pay, and then there are some systems that connect the payment on the convenience store with the online store, and they let them know that you have paid, and then they can release your product and send it home. So it's very interesting because that's a way in which the market has grown a lot. Just this is like a proxy, but when I had my own store, around 10% of the entire purchases were done on the convenience stores or by paying on the bank, because a lot of people has cash. Why is this? Because I'm not very sure about this number. I think it's 40% or 50% of the people are not on the formal economy system. They're not like paying taxes. They just buy and sell things somewhere, food on the street, whatever.
Okay,
so,
because I thought Germany would be like the last standing country with like not cash only, but we have people are very in love with cash. so you can forget kind of this there's a lot of like payment providers that want to get help you getting rid of cash, but people love cash here. Yeah. But now I learned, so in Mexico there's even more people that don't have even an alternative. Okay.
A lot. I think the number is like 90% of Mexico's economy is sustained by small and medium businesses, and half or more of the small and medium businesses are not formal. They don't pay taxes. So they buy and sell anywhere, like, I don't know, maybe on Facebook Marketplace or sending WhatsApp PDFs or just standing at the street and selling things, and you get cash for this.
Okay. So as a customer, there's a lot of people that say, okay, if I go to Sweden or Norway, you can just survive with a credit card or whatever. You don't need cash ever again. That's totally the opposite then in Mexico. Yes. Without cash, you're going to die because no cab driver would bring you to the place you want to go.
Yes. Now we have Uber and some of the taxi unions and things like that have added digital payments to their way of operating. But if that's not the case, even there are some cities in Mexico where you can pay Uber with cash. So the companies need to adapt. Like, digitalization has been adapting also to the market. And this is also it's a cultural thing. What happens is that we're still a developing country. Maybe I just said we're one of the richest countries in the world, but we have a very large population of uneducated people or people that don't have access to technology and things like that. So what happens is that a lot of people don't believe in the government and they don't want to pay taxes. And that's why they use cash. So if you want to have a business that thrives, you need to have cash. Why? Because only 30% of the population has a credit card, and you still have 70% of the population that might be buying
But what does it mean then for e-commerce? If you go to more developed countries, like let's go to Europe or Germany, we see some categories are already like 20 to 30% online. Smartphone appliances, for example, are like 80% online only. Whenever you can buy a cable or whatever accessories for your phone, you only will be able to find those things online. So, but do you have like, let's go with fashion. I think fashion is the best reported segment, worldwide, where we see like numbers 20% and above, online in developed markets. So what is like the fashion online revenue in Mexico versus the total revenue?
It's still low. It's still between, I think it's 10%. Some of the retailers have their e-commerce store as one of the top stores of if they have 60 or 100 stores in Mexico, all across Mexico, maybe their e-commerce store is like top 3, but still it doesn't account for most of the revenue.
Okay.
Just last year, because of the pandemic, the largest retailers were able to say they could, like, between 10 and 30% of their total revenue came from their e-commerce store. But that was a novelty. That was not something that happened. And the growth that happened in Mexico last year on e-commerce was equivalent to what had to happen in 5 years, not in 1. The thing was that nobody could get out of home. The retail stores the brick and mortar stores were actually closed. The only thing that was not closed was the supermarket, and it had like a very tight schedules. So people had to adapt and start buying online. The group that grew the most, the age group that grew the most on online sales in Mexico last year was people above 50 years old. So people that were very reticent to start buying online, but they had no choice. They had to start doing it. So young people were already there. People younger, like 35 years and younger. But then you had the group between 35 and 50, which was on both sides, and people 50 or over was different, had no choice. So it grew, I think, more than 100% last year, triple-digit growth. In terms of retail, here I have the number. Just give me a second. It grew like 15% year over year. Online, like from offline, online from 2019 to 2020. And it was more or less because of the pandemic.
Okay, so it was kind of a turbo development kicker for e-commerce. Maybe on another note, what we are seeing now as a category where the most investment goes in Western Europe are this super fast delivery services. It's in Europe, it's one of the one that became fastest unicorn ever is Gorillas, for example, where you can just order food, not food. You can order, it's like a small supermarket. You have like a very small assortment, like a supermarket. You can order beer, crisps, some ice cream, whatever, and they will bring it to you within like 10 minutes. So you place your order and within 10 minutes, it's in your home.
Wow.
And it's like they are getting funding now like crazy, and it works best in countries with a high Gini coefficient. So where we have a very, very unfair balance between lots of people that are in need of work and lots of people obviously that have lots of money. Mexico is such a country with a high Gini coefficient. So I suggest there must be similar services available in Mexico. So when you're located in Mexico City, so right now, how is your e-commerce infrastructure? Can you rely on such services, for example?
Rappi, which is a unicorn in Latin America, they're a Colombian company. It's starting to have this like express service delivery in 10 minutes. Right now they have between 30 and 45 minutes, but they're starting now with this.
But nobody wants to wait 45 minutes for groceries.
Yes. No, actually here, people are kind of still patient because Amazon Prime arrived in Mexico. It started operating in Mexico when Amazon started, just for 3 cities, for the 3 largest cities. So there are some cities in Mexico. The country is really big. that don't have next day or same day delivery as we do in Mexico City. So here we have pretty much everything. So Rappi starting with this service of 10-minute delivery. We also have Corner Shop. Corner Shop was it's now powered by Uber because Uber bought a large portion of it, and they deliver groceries. They could bring them home in 90 minutes. Also, another very important detail is that Mexico City is one of the largest cities in the world and one of the most populated cities in the world. We have around 25 million people living here. So 90 minutes is actually great. It's like fast because it might take you longer to arrive to the supermarket because of the traffic and coming back home. So someone delivering you groceries in that time spectrum is good. And I think they're also working on lowering that. We also have another smaller company, but that also raised a lot of capital, I think like $60 million, that is called Justo. And they don't have brick and mortar stores. They just have their warehouses, and they bring you groceries. So we have a variety of different companies. There's another one I think that just opened. Actually, I think it's been operated by Germans, and they're trying to get this. And we also have Mercado Libre just enter the grocery business too. And they, as soon as Amazon came to Latin America, they had their kind of own, like their Prime program. It's called Full. So if you see on Mercado Libre a product that is marked as full, you also can get a very quick delivery, which is great because now you have a lot of options to buy things and get them really, really fast. Not as fast as in Europe, as you're saying, but really, really fast.
I'm sure it will come. So Mexico is has a perfect Gini coefficient for this model, and they don't need like supermarkets, as an infrastructure. They just build like small corner stores that will serve like an area like 1 kilometer around the corner store. There's like 5,000 plus households, and then you can get it like in 10 minutes.
It's Joker, the company that just came. I think it has founders that worked at Rocket Internet, and they want to deliver in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think in Germany or like in other countries in Europe, they're relying heavily on bike deliveries, and therefore you need bike lanes. I think like in Mexico City, some areas are not so bike friendly, I would say, if I remember correctly.
Most of the city is not bike friendly, but they don't care. Like people that deliver are on their bikes or on their motorcycles or even walking.
Yeah. Okay, got it. So then let's focus on what you're doing right now. I think it was super helpful to get a little bit bigger picture about like the Mexican e-commerce market. But you got funding for a model that is called Merama, which I think it's easiest to describe as kind of a Thrasio clone. And and I think we need just to get it into the right box. So you want to acquire brands that are successful on Amazon and Mercado Libre. I don't know. You have to explain it.
Yeah, it's not.
Therefore, make them more successful.
It's not a clone. It's different because in Latin America, markets operate differently. So we partner. We don't acquire. The Thrasio model buys 100% of the company. We don't do that. We just buy a share, a big share of the company. Companies that currently are top sellers or leaders on Amazon and Mercado Libre in Mexico, or at other marketplaces in Latin America or Mexico too. So what we do is we partner with them, and we exponentiate their growth by injecting investment and helping them get to other markets, sell at other marketplaces, build their direct-to-consumer side if it's not built, whatever they need to double or triple their businesses in a short period of time. And we have a very, very select group of people that works at Merama, specialists on e-commerce, logistics, internationalization, data, digital marketing, everything that's needed to grow an e-commerce business, product development, brand development, and explode this market. And something that's very interesting on our model is that we really become partners, and the founders of the businesses stay as heads of their businesses, and they operate their business, and we just come in, help them out, and come out. For some things, we start operating some of the things their business needs. This is a better strategy for Latin America for two reasons. One, the market is not yet fully mature. So these companies are still able to grow. And a lot of founders know this. So why would they sell 100% of their business if they know they're still able to grow it? So they partner up with us so we can grow together. And if in the end the business gets sold, everyone gets a better share. And the other thing is, it's cultural. It's very hard for Latins to let go. A Latin American entrepreneur really feels their business is something they own and they love. So it's very hard for them to leave that lifestyle and start another business from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I get it. But you're not only acquiring brands or partnering with brands in Mexico, you're doing it in all over Latin America.
Yes.
Which leads to the question, so how strong is Amazon in the whole area? So they're not only strong in Mexico, but also in other countries, I guess. And second question, which is connected with this one, would this model also work with Mercado Libre, where I understand it wasn't possible so far to build like brands on Mercado Libre because you're operating with a different business model?
Yes. So Amazon is very strong in Mexico. They just started operating in Brazil a couple of years ago, and they will start operating in Colombia, I think that soon. But Mercado Libre is very strong all over Latin America. And as I said, when Amazon came here, they started changing their model, and now you can, they even have the logistics for you to send your products to their warehouses. So the model changed a bit, and it's, their service has improved a lot because it's not only relying on potential merchants, but also on their own logistics. So, yes, it's not just Amazon, but Mercado Libre. Also Brazil has a large, retailer scene that has marketplaces, and they're very strong. Actually, in Brazil, direct-to-consumer sites and retailers that have marketplaces might have a larger portion of the market than Mercado Libre and Amazon. And that is starting to happen in other countries of Latin America. For example, Falabella, which is one of the most important retailers on the South Cone. Actually, we have in Merama some founding members come from Falabella. They are very, very strong, and they are selling more than Mercado Libre in some countries such as Chile, Peru. So what
is Falabella? That's a retailer?
Falabella, it's a retailer. It's kind of like the South Cone Macy's.
Okay, but it's like it's a retailer with a brick and mortar DNA.
They have brick and mortar DNA. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Most of the retailers, there's not the only pure e-commerce, pure player marketplace that it's from Latin America is, that operates all over Latin America. I'm sure there are other marketplaces at each country, but that operates in the entire region is Mercado Libre. And all of the other retailers that operate in different countries or just at one country, they were born brick and mortar, and now they're starting to develop their e-commerces, or they started 5 years ago. And their operations in e-commerce skyrocketed last year because of the pandemic, especially in Mexico.
Okay, got it. And how many, let's say Latin America marketplace brands are there? So I understand like Spryker model, there are like thousands of brands exclusively built on Amazon. Same in Europe. You have obviously a couple of brands that are operating globally, but there's like thousands and thousands of, and you can follow those Facebook groups where people are sharing the experience and how to build and manage a brand. So how is it shaped in Latin America?
It's not the same here. I think we have hundreds. I don't think we have thousands. Also, not all of them are building brand. Some of them are just getting like surfing the wave, searching trends and bringing products from Asia, which has a cheaper manufacturer for tech and some other categories. And they sell yes, they kind of build a brand. Of course, they have a name and things, but they're not building brand for people to start loving their brand. And that's another thing, and that another competitive advantage that we can give them at Merama. Why is this? Because the market is quite new. So Amazon started off, the first country that Amazon came in Latin America was Mexico. And that was not long ago. That was like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. So not a lot of entrepreneurs have started developing their businesses online. And a lot of them are already the top sellers because they surfed the wave, not because they built a brand. And this was also because the market was not as mature as other markets in the world when Amazon came in and Mercado Libre had to shift their business model. And like brick and mortar had still 90% of the total retail sales before the pandemic. So the model, what happened was if you brought a product if you imported something from China or Korea or Taiwan or I don't know, like a novelty that we didn't have, for example, in Mexico, in order to have a huge volume of sales, you needed a deal with one of the top brick and mortar retailers. So if they weren't purchasing your product, you would reach like a peak in sales online, and that was going to be it. The market was not going to grow as fast as the market on the brick and mortar stores. But last year, everything changed, and the e-commerce market grew so much that now it's a good business to have a product sold only online. That was not the case before. For example, when I started my company, that was not the case. Actually, we started a distribution company on the side because we realized that we needed the brick and mortar stores to get volume. Now that has changed. It's very, very different. Almost 11 million Mexicans last year purchased for the first time online because they had no choice. They couldn't get out of their homes.
But can you describe kind of a perfect deal from your point of view? What kind of a brand is it? It's obviously in the founders located in Latin America, but how much sales would you have via Amazon or Mercado Libre? And
for us, for example, like for us to Merama to partner with a merchant, we're more than a specific revenue. We're looking for profitable companies that are selling their products online, mostly online, hoping in Mexico, more than 60% of their sales online, whether that's on their direct-to-consumer side, Mercado Libre, Amazon, or other marketplaces. There are some exceptions, of course, in which we're also partnering up with brands that are not fully selling online, but they have a product that is not covered like on the online market, or a really good product or a really good brand that was developed not online. But we're mainly focusing on online products because our goal or our mission is being the largest seller of brands online. So, since I said this before, not all of the entrepreneurs that are selling products through marketplaces or online are building their own brands as having a brand persona and giving a brand a personality. Some of them are just answering to market trends. So we're also looking for brands that are strong and that might give us some leverage in some categories. So that's pretty much it. This year we with the companies that we're partnering up, we will have more than $100 million on revenue.
Have you acquired some brands already?
We have, but I'm not able to disclose them.
Okay. But you have, and you said you have like a team that is helping with like branding and product management. So
yes,
when you compare the stuff you have to do on Amazon.com for the US website, let's say Amazon SEO, is it different to what you have to do? And because you said it's not only Amazon, it's going to be other channels too. So is it like, will the team, and there's like more companies that are operating like Stratio, even though they acquire and you partner up, but will the product management team, the marketing team, whatever you're building now as a foundation for this kind of brand holding you're building, will this be different to a similar business in the US or in Europe?
It's different. It's different because Amazon is not different, right? The algorithm is the same. The way in which you build SEO in the US is the same way in Amazon US is the same as you build SEO in Amazon Mexico. You use the tools like, DataHawk or Helium 10 or all of these tools. And you use a strategy either based on products or on words and things. On Amazon, it's similar, but we have Mercado Libre, and the strategy in Mercado Libre, it's different. For example, in Mercado Libre, if you don't answer, like a lot of people ask questions. It's not just like on Amazon that you like go in, look for the product that you want. Of course, you search, you click on the product and you purchase, like one-click purchase. And you don't talk to anyone and you don't care about it because either you read the reviews or watch the video they have there or even click on their ads inside Amazon or things like that. But what happens is on Mercado Libre, a lot of the people that buy products from Mercado Libre want to chat with someone. So there are customer service chats working all the time and you have to answer them quickly if you want to have a good grade to be a merchant there. So it's not just on having a nice title and a nice photo or helping the Mercado Libre algorithm to show your products. It's also about the customer service you can give on time, like on point at that specific question that the potential buyer has. So it changes a little bit the game. And then you have all the other marketplaces that operate differently. Some of the marketplaces in Mexico don't even let you upload the products on your own. You have to send the list and the photos to the retailer, and they upload the product. Some of them want to buy inventory from you, even if it's a marketplace. So the operation, it's more complicated than just selling on Amazon.
How many retailers in Mexico, let's say, do have a functional marketplace business? Because let me give you some context for the German market. So obviously the retailers were very slow in adapting the marketplace model. Some now do operate in a marketplace model, or at least allow other retailers or other sellers not to just sell products to the retailer, but sell it through the platform, which is kind of getting rid of the inventory, getting rid of the inventory risk. That's a game they are playing, but they are very small compared to Amazon. So we have in Germany Otto and Douglas, but the revenues compared to Amazon are very small, and still in their core, it's still a standard retailing business, mostly brick and mortar focused. Do we have retailers with a brick and mortar DNA in Mexico that really adapted the marketplace model?
They have. I don't think it's perfect. Amazon and Mercado Libre are way better on their marketplace models, but they're trying, and we have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they might do it because they know that there's a lot of business there, and they've been growing year over year, especially since last year. So we have a very, very large operation of Walmart in Mexico, which manages Mexico and Central America, and they've managed to build a marketplace. It's not Mexican, but the operation for Mexico is based in Mexico, is not managed from the US. And then we have Liverpool, which has a very large marketplace. We have Coppel, we have Claro Shop, we have Electra, and I think that's pretty much it. Maybe I'm missing one, but those are the most important ones that have built their own marketplace and are gaining market share in certain categories.
What is, I know Amazon is not disclosing it, but what is your best guess? What is the revenue of Amazon in Mexico?
Oh, my best guess. I don't know. The thing is, is it above $10 billion? I think it would be above 10 billion or maybe there. My comparison is the top retailers in Mexico. They're since they are at the Mexican stock exchange, you can see their numbers anywhere because they're public. They're selling $60 billion, $70 billion, kind of, and they have the entire market because of the brick and mortar stores. Amazon only has around 30, 40 million Mexicans entering their platform because of the credit card problem that I explained at the beginning of the podcast. So guessing that, yeah, maybe.
So you cannot buy at Amazon with this brick and mortar cash system. So you cannot go to Amazon, buy something, and then go to what is it, OXXO also?
OXXO. No,
yeah.
What you could do is you can buy at OXXO Amazon cards. So it's like have you seen the Spotify cards, the Netflix cards? I'm not sure if that's a thing in Europe, but you can see them in the US and you can see them in Latin America.
It is, but it's usually gift cards. It's not because of a payment issue, but it's like if grandpa wants to give you here's some credits for, I don't know, Google Play Store, you can buy kind of a plastic card in the store.
Okay. Yeah. They started as gift cards, but now they're also helping out with this credit card problem. So you can buy the Amazon card at OXXO, and then you can purchase on Amazon. Or you can ask your friend with a credit card to purchase on Amazon.
It must be a perfect time for fintechs in Mexico, actually.
It is. It is. It is. When I managed the fintech vertical, the fintech clients for Facebook on Mexico, it was pretty interesting learning on how they were, getting this huge market of people that has no credit card out. There are a lot of fintechs in Mexico now. And it's a great moment for them. A lot of them have raised millions. Actually, the first Mexican unicorn, it's called Kavak. They buy and sell used cars, but their model is kind of a fintech model because they're lending money for people to buy these used cars through their own financial arm. So it's pretty interesting the way they're doing this. And then there's the second Mexican unicorn. It's Bitso, which is based on cryptocurrencies. It's a trader of cryptocurrencies. They operate all over Latin America. And they are also taking advantage of this lack of financial services market in Mexico. Rappi, which I mentioned before, they've just launched their credit card. So you can get your credit card applying at the Rappi app, for example.
Yeah, I like those two names, Justo and Rappi, because I think that's even internationally adapted names for doing something fast. But
yes.
So that works a lot even in a global expansion mode. So for your business, for Merama. So what is the bottleneck for growth? In Europe, you see bottleneck for growth for such businesses acquiring Amazon brands or partnering with Amazon brands is a big competition. There's more buyers on the market than available companies, and obviously finding profitable companies at the right size. So you have now, I think, secured $160 million. I'm not sure if his number's correct.
160, yeah.
160 million. That's a lot of money for acquiring companies. So can you deploy it the way you've planned for, or is it easy for you to get enough targets?
Yes, we can deploy it. It's not being easy to acquire targets, but it's not being complicated. And this market is getting more and more mature every day. So I think a lot of new players will come into the game. But I think there's also a very important thing here as a bottleneck, which is import taxes in Mexico. We have a lot of import taxes of a lot of if you manufacture products in Asia, even if they're cheap, you have an import tax, for example, from China. And that brings the price product a little bit higher, or also for textile. This happened because the Mexican government, and it's fine, it's understandable if the government is not like a fully right government, that they wanted to protect the market and the suppliers or the factories that were building those type of products here in Mexico. So that's another bottleneck, that sometimes some products might not be as cheap as they should because of the import tax. And another thing that I found complicated is talent. When I told the story of how Linio and all the direct-to-consumer sites that were born back in 2010, 2012, 2013, developed this large like human talent on digital and omni-channel, but it's not enough. It's still like finding someone that knows how to manage Amazon ads in Mexico right now. It's hard. Either you have to learn on your own or you have to bring someone from another country. So we need to develop talent also on the digital spectrum. And we've been able to grow a very large team at Merama that I'm sure will help skyrocket all the companies that we're partnering with. But that's another bottleneck. Is
Linio still a big thing in Latin America, or is it now doomed because of Mercado Libre and Amazon?
Falabella bought Linio, I think a couple of years ago. I remember if it was 2 or 3 years. Falabella, the South Cone retailer that I was talking about, and they're merging their online operations, the Falabella online operations with the Linio operations. So it's still big because Falabella bought it, but it's not as big as Mercado Libre or Amazon for the entire region.
Because it was built with the Spryker predecessor.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It was a very early, so if you want to say, very early version of Spryker.
Very early.
Yeah. It's was used for Linio. You will find some of the code parts, I think, in that. So okay, so there are some limits to this acquisition, and obviously, like on the talent side, there's challenges, but this is like an emerging market. That's always like the cool thing. If you have like a very strong network, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why you're part of the founding team, you definitely can leverage on that. So if I sum it up correctly, so the e-commerce market is growing rapidly right now, also thanks to COVID. There's a very big chunk of potential customers not yet arrived in e-commerce, which is different in more developed market where I think 80% of all the people living in Germany or US have ordered online, and you say in Mexico it's still like 50% not even has a credit card or something similar. Where I
more. We only 30% of the population.
Where I guess a lot of fintechs will definitely develop solutions for. There's definitely room for structural improvements for this whole brand management on Amazon and Mercado Libre. So one question still stays for me. One question I haven't found an answer yet. So, is Mercado Libre then moving in the direction of Amazon now? Because they started out as a totally different business model, but they see this kind of pure marketplace model is most likely dominant. Yeah. So are they now changing their business model because of the Amazon success? Is it something you can observe?
Yeah, I'm not sure like this is official and they've come out to say like, hey, we're changing our business model. But they have adapted some of the things on Mercado Libre for sellers such as the ones that we're partnering with. So they have this full program, which is like Amazon Prime. You don't have to pay for it or subscribe, but you could see it on the platform. And if you see that the product is full, you could make the analogy that it's kind of like Amazon Prime because it's on their warehouse. They've deployed a lot of warehouses all over Mexico, so the sellers can send their products to their own warehouses and they can they can fulfill on time. They've entered the groceries market, which Amazon has also done. And, they're trying to increase their catalog. They've also started doing, Amazon has like the brand stores. Mercado Libre has also started doing some brand stores. So they have changed some things in order for the market to feel that you can either look for a product at Amazon or at Mercado Libre. As a consumer, I do it all the time. I don't just enter Amazon. I enter Mercado Libre and some of the retailers for some of the categories. If I'm looking for furniture, I look for the top, fashion or like high-end branded maybe retailers, not just Amazon.
Is Wayfair already active in Mexico?
Yes, you can. I think you can. I'm not sure if you can get deliveries to Mexico yet. I'm not sure about that because things have changed.
It feels interesting. So one of the last guests in the podcast was the e-commerce manager from Magnit, the grocery leader in grocery in Russia, and it feels like 20 years ago here in the more developed countries. Same with Mexico now. I'm hearing there's a lot of stuff you can do, which is not available as a strategic option anymore in more developed countries, which is actually cool. So you can totally define like the standard of e-commerce in Mexico. Then my final question on the Merama business model. So let's say you have scaled your operations. Let's look like 1 year ahead in 2022. Would it make sense for European Amazon brand to be acquired or to be partnered with Merama then, because you can bring some operational skills to the table that Merama clone in Europe cannot bring to the table?
Let me see if I understood. You're asking that maybe some European brands that want to start their business in Latin America.
For example, I just want to understand. So how global can this business be? Is it going to be, so Latin America is obviously a big market. So that it's not a question right now, but just in theory. So can you be like the dominant Amazon brand partner?
I think we can. Yeah, I think we can. I think we're aiming for that. I think, and more than just Amazon, we're aiming for every channel online, like democratizing what the consumer can get online at each and every category that it's selling online, and building brands through partnering up with entrepreneurs that already have the know-how of how to operate these categories in the region. And the region is very big, and there's always a way in which we can grow at each and every country in Latin America. I think that might be an interesting model, exploring brands that are already popular at other countries or regions and then bringing them into Latin America, or understanding if it's better to just build a brand for Latin America with the current partners that we have. I think we could explore both worlds. I don't have an answer for that. I think that the way in which we've been moving is very, very fast, and things have been changing each and every week. So it's something just like up in the air to discuss maybe in a year.
Okay. And maybe one other question, which we discussed like briefly before we started the recording of the podcast. So how important is this direct consumer option for the brands you're managing? Obviously right now, selling on the marketplace, it's a very convenient thing because you don't need to take care for e-commerce operations, platform, customer acquisition. My thinking about e-commerce is like eventually you have to get this direct consumer access. Otherwise, you become a slave of a platform, and you are not able to earn money anymore. Might be far away in the future. In the Mexican case, it's not so far away in the more e-commerce developed market in the US, in Europe. So, how do you think about that?
I think that we tried to start with direct to consumer in Mexico because there was not even the Amazon platform or the Mercado Libre infrastructure to do it. So we started direct to consumer. We learned a lot about the consumer and the trends and lifetime value and reducing cost of acquisition and having large margins because you were selling directly through your platforms, but still with a lot of costs immersed in this. I think that what you're saying might be true. We can still leverage Amazon, Mercado Libre, and other marketplaces to grow the brands that we have. But in the end, having the information on your consumer, it's very important. It is that important that the marketplaces are not sharing it with the merchants, right? If it were something that wasn't important, they could share this information. So yeah. I think there's an important portion of sales that should happen at direct to consumer. But on the other hand, I still think that the consumer needs to decide where he or she wants to buy, right? If they want to buy on Amazon because they're a loyal customer and they pay the Prime membership, or if they love the experience on the direct-to-consumer side because it explains perfectly what the product does and it gives them an emotional connection to the brand, well, so it be. So I think we need to develop all the channels and let the consumer decide, and having information on the consumer can also help selling on marketplaces. So what you're saying, it will happen. There will be a time in which if you only sell through marketplaces, it's not going to be sustainable, but we're still not there. So we still have time to maybe grow our own direct to consumer businesses on parallel with Amazon
the interesting thing,
Mercado.
like the interesting in Germany, what happened during the pandemic is that some brands were 100% dependent on Amazon during the pandemic, and then Amazon resorted like the categories and said, okay, we're only selling the stuff that's important for our customers. You even don't find stuff from brand ABC anymore. And then I learned, okay, if we're like 100% dependent and something like the pandemic hits, if we don't know our customers because Amazon and even eBay is not sharing customer data anymore, we are running into a problem. So this stuff that was discussed like 10 years ago, direct to consumer, in Germany, for example, is now super popular, again, because, it's a very convenient way to sell via marketplaces because you get rid of all this, technical stuff and all the operations, but eventually you just become like a logistics partner. Yeah, build your brand and invest there.
Why did Amazon make this decision? Because of the logistics? It was very like they were not able to supply the demand because of COVID, or
so that is one reason. So in some categories, obviously they wanted to optimize their margins, because if you sell low margin products for whatever reason, they are low margins in a situation where you have like scarce resources. Then obviously you go for the high margin products. That is true, and you wanted to be able to supply like basic stuff. You might have heard about the toilet paper problem in Germany. So people were really.
It happened all across the world. It was a thing. I still don't understand that phenomenon.
I mean, I think there are countries where toilet paper is not a thing. They have other methods to clean after their business. But there's a couple of reasons for that. But eventually they learned that they can a good e-commerce strategy can never be being dominant on Amazon. A good e-commerce strategy always involves a very strong direct consumer channel. And that was a very interesting time in 2020. And I think that is something that will develop as an idea in the emerging markets or in the marketplace emerging markets. But the stronger your access to consumers are, the better your own chances are to become a marketplace or platform yourself, selling advertising space and all this stuff, which makes it even more interesting. And with a multi-brand approach, which you're pushing, it even makes more sense to become like a platform, right?
Yes. And I also think that the entrepreneurs that started selling through marketplaces here in Mexico, maybe it's what happened to the entrepreneurs in Germany or Europe. It's that Amazon and Mercado Libre had the infrastructure. So they saw all of these companies, such as the one that I had, that went broke, closed, or whatever, because the infrastructure was not ready, or there was not enough investment to get to a large customer base. And Amazon and Mercado Libre did that for you. So I think it was a great way to start. But I agree with you that knowing the consumer and for me, coming from a marketing background, like at my business, my main role was getting acquisition, like growth. And then on Facebook, I was working on growth for retailers, growth for disruptors. And now here at Merama, I'm also in charge of building these brands, but also of growth. I understand, and I really believe that direct to consumer gives you all the insights that you need on the consumer, and understand if your brand persona is the one that you designed is actually the one that you're getting. You can't get that through the marketplaces, but we'll see how it goes. And I still believe that partnering up with the marketplaces that you should, but building your direct to consumer brand, you can give the consumer the choice of picking where is it they want to purchase, right? And we'll see how it goes.
And the way where to purchase is like cooperating with Merama. And I think that's good closing words. On your website, you're stating Merama is your brand's true partner in growth. And I think that's what you definitely laid out here in the podcast. Claret, thank you for your time. I definitely will follow closely the development of Merama. And I hope we can have like another exchange in a couple of months from now when the first brands you have been partnering with are live.
Yes, I'd love that, Alex. And thanks again for this time. I really enjoyed talking to you. Seeing the journey of e-commerce in Mexico and being part of it has been one of the most fun or the things that I have had most fun in my life. So Thanks for letting me share this with your audience.
And if you remember correctly, in our event where we met like 9 years ago, I think 80% of the people being there were still active in finance industry and real estate, right? And now I would say almost everybody there is in some kind of e-commerce, logistics, whatever, but not real estate and finance anymore.
Not anymore. Maybe some of them in fintech. We should check that out. Yeah. Well, thanks, Alex. Have a great day. Well, here in Mexico, it's early.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to give us a review on iTunes or Spotify or SoundCloud or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Recommend it to a friend and give us feedback what kind of guests you'd like to get us on the show. Bye-bye.